Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app on Apple Podcasts, on Android, and recommend Spotify. Also, check out the 5 Reasons YouTube channel for all your South Florida sports needs. And you may want to be checking out some other sports at the moment. Also, check out Off the Floor. We tell you this all the time, but there's more that I and we can do there than we can necessarily do right away on the podcast or in other places. And so if you were following Off the Floor at about 1 a.m., you got an inkling of what we're going to talk about today, because I was starting to get enough information to close on the topic that we're going to discuss today. So make sure you subscribe to Off the Floor. Link right here in the description. You'll bypass the Apple upcharge, and you can cancel at any time. Also, check out PrizePicks. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. Dolphins are 0-3. You need a reason to keep watching. Put down your $5. You get $50 in free lineups. You can go to the Explore page, and you'll find them. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. PrizePicks.com, our official fantasy partner, and legal in the state of Florida. And now, today's episode.
Uh-oh. Yeah. It's Mercy. Music by Mercy again. Heat Nation. We the culture. Yo, E, I need you to call timeout. Need Brady to set the floor plan. Tropical blanket. Open for the shot. Yo, Greg, set the pick. Still 5 on the floor, still ride for my dog. Still battle on the court, still survive in the war. Keep your eye on the ball, or get burned friendly. Keep this mic off the wall without turning the cheek. From night to day, no sleepy paths or allowed to mornings. The nut is sleeping us, never catch us snoring. Live from Miami, report in the heat with 5 Reasons Sports from the courts to the streets. Yeah, Wake County, Heat Nation, we still proudly.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick, and follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick and at 5 Reasons Sports. Make sure you're doing that. And also here with me is Greg Sylvander. So there is some news. Tyler Herro will miss at the least the start of the NBA season. It will be longer than that. I can tell you that much. I'm not going to get into a lot on timetable on this particular podcast because, honestly, as we're recording this podcast, they haven't had a chance to evaluate it yet. Okay?
Yeah.
Because procedure is today. But I'm going to give you a little bit of background about how this came about. And now Anthony Chang of the Miami Herald has tweeted more details about it, some of which I knew, some of which were new to me also. But we wanted to get the information out there as this was going on. And again, we're going to.
And Shams tweeted it as we were introing this podcast. Just
well, I guess I wasn't wrong then. So
yeah.
if Shams tweeted it, then
you beat Shams.
I wasn't wrong.
Trying to make light of an otherwise not fun topic.
No, it's not a fun topic. But Tyler Herro is going to miss some time because of a procedure to his foot. I know Anthony characterized it as foot/ankle. I'm not going to get into the medical angle on this. I'm not a doctor. I haven't evaluated, and there's also, there's privacy concerns and all that plays into it. The point is that Tyler Herro is not going to be with the Heat at the start of the season. I do know, and Anthony has reported this, that they hoped to avoid the procedure. Okay, that I do know. There were some whispers behind the scenes that I've been privy to, and they were hoping to avoid the procedure, that it might recover in some way. Now, I know the next question, Greg, and we're going to do a ton of podcasts on this, and we're going to cover all the angles. We're going to cover it from the we're going to do a podcast on, okay, how do they adjust their lineup? How do they adjust their rotation? How does this affect Powell? How does this affect Bam? How does this affect, then we're going to do another episode on how this affects contract negotiations, because one of the big things with Tyler was he was healthy last year. He played 75 games. He's not going to play 75 games this year. I can assure you of that. I don't know how many he's going to play, but we'd start looking in the 50s, okay, at this point, not the 70s, all right? There's going to be time missed here. And we'll do other episodes, of course, on how the Heat, I think, Greg, you and I should probably do this one, how the Heat have adjusted in the past to lengthy absences. This stuff has happened to them a lot at the start of seasons. Tyler Herro is not Alonzo Mourning, but he's a key player for the Heat. They had to adjust to Zoe's absence right before the season. This is, again, not the first time They have an organization that's accustomed to handling it. Sometimes they've adjusted well. The morning one, and again, we'll do a full episode on this, but in the 2000-2001 season, when Pat was the coach, Eric, of course, at that point, I think was still in the video room. They went 42-27 without Mourning.
Mm-hmm.
And then Zoe came back. They went 8-5, and they got swept out of the playoffs in the first round. But again, they've adjusted without Bosch. Spoelstra did that. Luol Deng stepped in after the All-Star break, and they took off. So there have been Ewing theory, for those who are familiar with that, Ewing theory type runs for the Heat where a player goes out and others emerge. And I don't want to rule that out, but the initial news is just not great. Yeah, I mean, this is your leading scorer. This is a guy who, whatever his defensive limitations may be, carried you a lot last year, did all the right things, improved his game, and was efficient, as an offensive player, again, until the playoffs when nobody was. And so this is not a good thing. So I'm just going to let you comment on that. But I do want to start by saying, again, what I know now, I can't say everything I know now, but what I know and I can report, he'll miss camp. He's going to miss the start of the season. It's a foot/ankle situation. And I don't believe, but again, I don't want to get too deep into the medical, that it is related to previous foot injuries that he's had. Only because I have been told it's the different foot. If you recall, he's had a couple of foot problems. There was one that he had, I think it was 2024, where he said he didn't know how it happened. It just started hurting him. Remember, that came after he had another injury. So I think it was the knee, and everybody was focusing on that, but it was actually the foot injury that was keeping him out. So again, I don't want to get too deep into the medicals here, but just your initial thoughts about the fact that Tyler Herro, leading scorer, is going to be out for a significant amount of time.
Yeah, and obviously information is coming in on this, and when it's medical stuff, we tread lightly. Shams, when he tweeted, said it was his left foot. So,
that's not the same. Just so you know, that is not the same foot. As the reports that I've seen from previous situations. So that would mean it's a different injury. It doesn't mean, again, that he's never had any problems with this one. But yes, he reported left foot, and that is what I heard also. So
yeah. So my initial reaction is that sucks. Like this, basically, even someone like me who wants to hope traffic, and I actually, dead ass honest, I'll still get excited for Heat games. It puts a damper on the start of this season because you needed Tyler to be his best self. There was a lot of him betting on himself in another season where he told Pat it's going to cost you more. And you wanted to see him back that up with another all-star campaign. You wanted to see him fit next to Norm. And now it looks like they're going to have to immediately hand the keys to Norm Powell to be a primary scoring option. Although I get the sense, and especially the more I check in with people around the building, they're going to lean into Bam. I think Bam's going to average more shot attempts than people think, and this will just obviously accelerate that. But overall, this is a really crappy day for Heat fans to hear something like this, because any hope you had of this team coming together and outperforming expectations, and we said this could be the year Spoelstra could lead a coach of the year campaign because no one's expecting anything out of them. Well, now everyone's really not expecting anything out of them, and so they can either put their hard hats on and figure out a way to get through that period, which will raise questions about Tyler Herro in other ways. And so we do have a lot of content to get out here, but the immediate reaction is it kind of shoots the season in the foot before it even gets off the ground. And that's a crappy feeling that I'm not going to try to sugarcoat or hope traffic any other way.
Yeah, this is not good news. I mean, let's not frame it that way. I see some even internally in our group who are saying that this could be a blessing in disguise. And I understand there are some, look, we're not a monolith at 5 Reasons Sports. Okay. I don't suppress opinion. And there are some,
they own their pick.
They own their pick. And some in our group are not big Tyler fans. That's all. I think that the opinion of Tyler is higher, I think, in our core 4 of the podcast than it is with the rest of our group. And I try to bring on those voices because, again, we don't want to just give you one opinion on everything. But there are some in our group who do think this could be a blessing in disguise in a few ways, okay, which And by the way, I'm gonna shoot all this down at the end, okay? But the thought process is well, there's no question about the starting lineup now. You're going to start likely Davion with Norm, and you're going to get defense in your starting group, right? Larson's going to play more. It means that maybe the rookie gets some run here. It also can mean Terry Rozier gets some run. Yep. So be prepared for that.
He's going to get the first shot at it, I bet you.
I think so. And you got to be careful with Rozier because if you are trying to move him, you can't get him hurt. Then there's Drew Smith, who is not ready yet, from my understanding, but has been ahead of schedule. He was getting ready to play 5-on-5 a couple weeks ago. I haven't checked back in on that. But so they have guards, okay? That's not the issue. They don't have a lot of scoring. They don't have a ton of three-point shooting.
Thank you.
And we've done these episodes, Brady, myself, Alex, you, where we've talked about the one positive is that their two best shooters are going to shoot really high volume. Now, one of those two shooters is out. Norm is going to see a lot more attention than he would have seen if Tyler was out there. He could get off to a slower start. I know that some have said, well, this is good. He'll get a chance to emerge. They'll get a chance to evaluate him, but they don't get a chance to evaluate the two of them together, which is really what you wanted to see how that thing fit as you're trying to decide on extensions for both. The other part of this, and we're going to do a full episode on this. I don't want to invest 20 minutes on it now, but it could bring Tyler's price down. That's the other quote unquote blessing in disguise that some in our group are citing. But I only think that's the case if this is a chronic thing. And that's why I was surprised when I heard it was the left foot, because I believe, and I could be wrong about this, but in all the reports, and I can't remember everybody's left or right or whatever, but I do remember it being Tyler's right foot that had given him problems before. So I don't know about the relation to previous injuries. I don't know if this is a chronic situation. He had described the other one as chronic previously, or it had been when the reports came out. So again, all of this plays into it, but the long story short, and I'm gonna let you get in here on the other side, it's not good. I can't, it's never good when a good player is out, okay, on a team that doesn't have enough proven good players. It's just not. And they may recover from it in some ways. They may be better defensively. But their early season schedule, let's get to that on the other side. Their early season schedule, we have talked about how brutal it is. And I'm telling you, those first 9 games or whatever, they're, without giving away the timetable, I don't think you're going to see Tyler Herro in any of those. And that is problematic. It's problematic for a team that doesn't have, it doesn't have elite talent up and down the roster. They've got some growing young players, but they're not a contender, and this makes them less so. So that's not great. All right. Well, what you don't want to be doing, okay, especially on a day like this, which is depressing for Heat fans, is trying to figure out where your money went, right? Okay, because you deserve to feel safe from fraud and in control. That's exactly what you can expect from CASHAPP. So when you get the CASHAPP card, not only do you get access to a ton of perks and benefits like exclusive early access to nationwide concert pre-sales or discounts on popular brands, but you also have security with the power to instantly lock or unlock your card right from your phone in just one tap. With CASHAPP, you can spend, save, and live your life knowing your money is right where you left it with built-in security, advanced built-in security, protections you can count on and help when you need it. Spend with peace of mind today and order a CASHAPP card in the app or at cash.app/card. Also, for a limited time only, new CASHAPP customers can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. Just download CASHAPP, use our exclusive referral code on the floor in your profile, send $5 to a friend within 14 days. You get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's CASHAPP. CASHAPP is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by CASHAPP's banking partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Instant discounts provided by CASHAPP, a blocking brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. Okay, so we're just going to do a couple more minutes on this, and we're going to get this up, and then we're going to do more podcasts. Also, check out Sports Illustrated's Heat site. I manage that, so you'll probably find a lot of coverage there. Got to activate you. Alex, wake up. Where are you? Anyway, the early season schedule. It's got to be concerning now, right? You look at the teams they're playing, and now that you're taking a 23, 24-point scorer out of the lineup, that's not great.
No, it's a couple things. One, that was going to be I guess one of the two stabilizing factors heading into this season was you were hoping that Bam and Tyler, with the Jimmy crap behind them, could start to carve out a different path. And I think you're going to see that from Bam. I thought you'd see it from Tyler. Now Tyler's not going to be there. There's no positive spin on this. You talk about the early season schedule. It's going to be rough, but this is what I think, unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about. And it may be not this episode that we deep dive on it, right? But it's going to be topics for discussion throughout the season. First off, you can put the Andrew Wiggins trade rumors to bed, because I think they're going to actually now ask Wiggins to have a bigger role offensively to get them through this. And that's going to be in an effort to save the season and make it something where they could make a run when Tyler's back, conceivably. But if things go south because the early schedule is rough, and then they go on the West Coast trip, and if things really go off the rails, and if Tyler doesn't come back and look like his best self, and things are just not looking good, the onus is going to be on the team, as you've talked about in your recent episode about how the word you gave heading into this year is uncomfortable. Well, now this is a lot more uncomfortable, Ethan. And where it's going to get more uncomfortable is if you're falling in the standings, your best player is injured, banged up, or whatever you want to call it, depending on how he recovers and all that. And we'll see how that goes. And y'all know, I wish him the best. I want him to be his best self out there on the court. Are they going to then need to look at expiring like Norm Powell as a trade asset, Andrew Wiggins as a trade asset, and how they handle the team building ripple effects that this could cause in a season that could be one that maybe doesn't get off the ground from the beginning? And I think how quickly they recognize that and make the proactive moves is going to be something that we monitor, right? Because I just think that it's the prudent thing to think about if this year falls off the rails. And it's why when everyone was so angry that they didn't want to keep that 2025 pick and make the playoffs, it's because they wanted this pick so that they had, and a lot of times the example used in that building is if Bam were to go down, what the hell would we do? Because that's a really legitimate thing. Like for me, this is a 25 win team without Bam. Right. But without Tyler, it's going to hurt a lot too. And now they at least have their draft pick. So the team building component of all this, I just think is a macro conversation that I don't want to get into it too much today, because I want Tyler to get better and it's crappy news. And let's not muddy the waters about what the real news of today is. But inevitably, that's going to be the conversations.
Well, I think the one positive that can be taken out of the timing of this, and I know everybody's gonna be like, why didn't he do it sooner? But it does seem like there was a real effort to try to avoid this. And so you take it as long as you can. I haven't heard anything like this is like a Shaq waiting to get surgery with the Lakers or anything like that, and contractual reasons or anything like that. Okay. If some of that comes out, we'll address it, right? He wants to play. But I do think the one positive here is that it's not an injury that happened in camp. Like Spo has a couple of weeks now to at least process this, has probably been aware, since I do know that a lot of people in the building have been aware of this for a while, or what was going on. So the coach knew, okay, what was possible here, and has had time to at least look at what his lineups and his rotations are going to be and what he wants to emphasize in camp and going forward. If this happened on October 3rd, Tyler goes out with an injury and is having surgery, to me, that's much more of a thunderbolt, to use one of Riley's words, than this is. This is unfortunate, but he has adjusted to worse before Spoelstra has. And the Bosch thing is the best example I can use for him. He's had to do it many times. Well, he had to do it with Bosch during the playoffs, where, if you remember, literally in Indiana, okay, when Bosch's rib cage or whatever that injury was, is abdominal, and he had to decide between Ronny Turioff or Dexter Pittman, and ultimately went to the smaller lineup with Battier. Like, that's a thunderbolt. Okay, Bosch getting not injured, but the blood clot while at the All-Star game. That report comes out, the second blood clot, when they were in Toronto and all that, and coming out, and there were only 2 games over 500, and coming out of that break and having to, okay, what are you going to do now? like with a couple days to prepare, and we're going to move Deng to the 4. That's a thunderbolt. This
Goran's
is
injury in the finals is a
Goran's
thunderbolt.
injury in the finals, Bam going out like that. Jimmy hurting the ankle. Okay, in the playoffs when he was having that magical run. Like those are thunderbolts. Like okay, and even Tyler getting hurt before the playoffs.
Good point.
Right, and not being available, and that kind of game that the team was playing about him going out and shooting in warmups but not playing, and when he's going to play. All of that, I think, okay, is more traumatic than this, only in the sense of it's before the season. They kind of knew what could play out here, even if they were trying to avoid it. And now he has a couple of weeks to sort of figure it out. And the hope is that he'll be back, at the very least, and I'm not trying to give away timetable, but at the very least, early in 2026, he'll is sort of, could be the worst case scenario. If that's what this is, and the team has, found a way to gel without him, then we start to have other topics like how are they going to adjust to his return, which, by the way, he wouldn't be the first in that regard either, because they've had to adjust to Bosch's return. They've had to adjust to Zoe's return. They've had to adjust to lots of players' return. This is why, and I'll close it here, this is why you do want an experienced organization handling this kind of stuff. They've been through all this shit before, okay, in one way or another. So that's not what's going to tank them. And I don't want to use that word. People, that's a loaded word right now. That's not what's going to sink them, but it's not good. Okay, it's not good. And I don't really want to see anybody celebrating this today, because if you are, that's kind of stupid. You don't want good players getting hurt. Okay, that's it. Especially good players who want to be on the court like this one does. And he's a good player who wants the ball, as you said. That's all this is about. And hopefully he gets back healthy soon. All right. Appreciate it, Greg. We got lots of content to get out, and we'll follow in a whole bunch of different ways. Again, check out the Sports Illustrated site. Cash App, use the code ONTHEFLOOR. Subscribe to Off the Floor PrizePicks, use the code FIVE. Keep it here. We tell you, we do know people. Sometimes we get one. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. After all, someone needs to listen to my dad.